Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and good morning. Welcome back to another episode of ETC Talks. I'm truly delighted to be with you all again and seeing new attendees for today's event. As a regular practice, few reminders before we begin. This session will be recorded. Questions may be raised at the end of the discussion. We have an interesting topic today to be delivered by a financial expert from the banking sector. Our guest speaker is currently the head of Fintech Committee and the assistant manager of IT department at the Central Bank of Oman. He has been working at the Central Bank of Oman since 2007. He is holding master's degree in accounting and business information technology from University of New South Wales and bachelor degree from Sultan Qaboos University. Also, he accomplished a number of projects and initiatives in different business and information technology areas. In addition, he has participated in a number of local and global conferences, summits, and seminars. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome Mr. Firas Al-Lawati. Mr. Firas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear Mahfouza. Thank you everybody for the great invitation, and it is indeed a pleasure to be among all of you today morning virtually. So, dear faculty members, students, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and a very good morning to all. I really would like to offer my appreciation and thanks for the kind invitation from the University of Technology and Applied Science, the Higher College of Technology of Muscat. I'll try today to have sort of a smooth, explanation and to take you through a smooth journey around financial technology, starting from the a quick introduction with a quick and brief explanation and definition of what is financial technology across until the some opportunities and challenges that are around fintech. So I'm sure we all would agree, and there is no really doubt about organizing such presentations, which will always support the journey of the digital transformation and the financial innovation and transformation in the country through raising awareness, knowledge sharing, exchanging experiences and ideas in such platform. It will always promote, the country position and vision in terms of supporting the development of digitization, and to be more specific, the digital finance, banking, digital payments, financial technology, and that's in cooperation with the education and academia as one of the main stakeholders in this ecosystem. Today, throughout my presentation, just a quick disclaimer that this is more of a personal presentation and a personal opinion, and this is what just I wanted to raise it here. Anyway, so today I'll take you through this agenda. So we will quickly define and have a understanding what is fintech, what is financial technologies, and then we'll go through the evolution of fintech, areas of fintechs, what is the impact of financial technology, and what really drives the development of financial technology, whether in the local market or also on the regional and international markets. And also we will touch a bit on some of the global fintech market overview and development, challenges versus opportunities, and then I will end up my presentation today with some closing remarks. So, digital transformation, innovation, development has become one of the most important pillars of all sectors, whether it is financial or banking sector or any other sector. And it is playing a crucial role in supporting, the financial and banking sector advancement toward the future, and especially during the pandemic, and also before and after the pandemic, and how it could really survive, during the exceptional disruption due to the pandemic and due to the tough competition that is happening or that is coming also from the new players and the new entrants. So innovation, digitization should be a key element of any business, any sector, and a key pillar of entity's corporate strategy. That's why we nowadays, for every corporate strategy, we see that digitization or digital transformation is a pillar in that strategy, and it should be implemented with a top priority. And of course, in innovation, it's a value proposition to the financial sector, especially the fintech sector. So the evolution of digitization in the banking and financial sector and financial technology fintechs over the past couple of years has led to a new opportunities as well as a new threats, new risks in the global banking and financial sector. So there is a need of digitization, innovation, and this has been a key pillar of banks, of existing, banks, existing financial institution strategy, even before the pandemic, and of course, more after the pandemic, which has taught us that we should be ready with a great and a solid business continuity in case we are moving toward any some scenarios like what we faced. So technology has developed and keep developing, and it has been a raise a raise in a customer expectations, customer demand, pressure, and adopting emerging technology, higher competition, and within the sector and the world. So before I go to define the understanding of fintech, so fintech has a real ability, to change the structure of traditional financial and banking services. So whatever developments happening around the financial technology services had led to a number of areas. But before I talk about these areas, defining financial technology is not unified. In a sense, there are many definitions around financial technology or around fintech. So there is no single unified standard definition of fintech. However, I have chosen two definitions. One of them is the definition of the Financial Stability Board. They define fintech as a technology-enabled innovation, means technology and with innovation, or that enable, innovations. So okay. So so it's and that could result, in a new business models, a new application, a new processes, and a new financial and banking, products within an associated material effect on on the provision of these financial services. Whereas E&Y have defined it as a venture that leverage technology to develop new and augment existing capabilities for the discovery, disruption, distribution, and operations servicing of financial products and services. Where I would like to make it simple, I want to make a simple definition of what is fintech. It's about using or about utilizing the innovative technologies in providing, different types of financial and banking services, which will be reflected in providing a new financial and banking products, services, processes like mobile banking, mobile wallet, peer-to-peer lending, crowdfunding, digital banking, and many. I'll talk about more of these areas. But the developments that's happening around the financial technology and services has led to three important, I would say, results. Before I move to the evolution, let me talk about this. First of all, it has improved the productivity and the customer engagement, as well the efficiency in the financial services that are offered to the customers. The customers are more or majority of the Generation Z, which you guys, the students, or even the younger, students, or interested people, because they are looking for customer convenience, customer to be more, available. Access to multiple options, multiple services. They would like to finish all their business, all their banking, financial services while sitting at home, sitting in a coffee shop, traveling around the world. So the new generation is more techie savvy. They don't believe on what people used to do. Like I have to go physically to a branch, or I have to go to physically to an office to complete my work, and that's what financial technology and the digital transformation around the financial and banking sector has led to. Second, these innovative financial and banking services simulate what banking sector are offering, but with the flavor of creativity, innovation, and technology. Third, simplifying the banking and financial operations, but on the other hand, has introduced a number of course, threats. So more we move towards cyberspace, more toward digitization, more of a threat, more of a new risks, more of a threat that would require an intensive precautionary measures to achieve safety, integrity, stability of this sector, whether by the policymakers, whether by the technology provider, and so on. So a lot of people would think that fintech or the evolution around fintech is something totally new. Yes, technology has played a major role in financial and banking sector since long time. So lots of people think fintech as a word, as a concept is new, whereas throughout the next slides I'm going to explain, I will show you the evolution of fintech that shows fintech as a word, yes, it's a new terminology, yes, it comes with a new services, with a new technology utilized as a foundation, let's say fourth industrial revolution and so on. But the concept itself, or the concept behind it, has been there for a good time, for a long, really long, good time. So fintech has gone through a three, I would say, eras, starting from fintech 1.0, fintech 2.0, until fintech 3.0, and now we are moving more into fintech 3.5 or fintech 4.0. So it started in 1886 to 1967, and this was the first era, where people started to talk about the financial globalization and the development around the financial sector. So this era more of establishing the infrastructure for the financial and banking. So it started with with the new technology at that point of time, such as telegraph, railroads, steamships, and all these new, I would call them technology or infrastructure, has allowed for the first time of transmission of financial information across borders, okay, outside between country to another country. And also during this era, there was the first electronic fund transfer system called transatlantic cable, and as well as that was in 1866, and the Fed wire, which was in 1918 in the United States. And this infrastructure has brought us the first, the first credit cards, which has made an easiance on the burdens of carrying cash at that point of time. So in 1950s, for example, and 1958, the Diner Club introduced their credit cards, something similar to Visa and Master, and American Express also followed the Diners Club, and they had introduced their own credit card in 1958. So this is all examples of technologies which could fall under the definition or under the definition or terminology of fintech at that stage or at that era. The next era started from 1967 to 2008, and here was the shift from analog to digital. And it was led, and this shift from analog to digital was led by the financial institutions, and the first handled calculator and the first ATM was installed, by Barclays banks, and that was the first. Sorry, I just need to. You're not able to see the full screen. Just a moment. I thought it is a full screen. Sorry. Just give me a minute. So I hope now it's a full screen. You can see my full screen.
Yes, we can see it now.
Excellent, excellent. So yeah, so in this era, the ATM machine, for example, it was introduced. And ATM is a good example about of financial technology at that point of time. And here where the evolution started to become more advanced in 1967 by, for example, the first ATM was installed by Barclays. And there was different significant I mean evolution and development that's happening in 1970s. For example, the establishment of Nasdaq is the first digital stock exchange that was also established at the beginning of 1970s, and that shows, or that was the beginning of how financial markets it's operating today, with different digital stock markets around us. In 1973, for example, during this era, the SWIFT, Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, was established, which allows people, and this is one of the most used or usable platform by the banking and financial societies or sector entities to transfer, money across borders internationally. And since we have a raise in 1990s, 80s, there was a raise of different, mainframe computers, the advanced technology of computing that has led to the introduction of online banking, internet banking, e-commerce business models, and this brought us, a major shift on how people, perceived when it comes to their money, relationship with the financial institutions, and so on. This era was, concluded or ended with the financial crisis that happened in 2008. And as we always say, with every risk, with every challenge, there are opportunity. So this kind global financial crisis have led to some sort of a distrust of the traditional banking system and the traditional banking entities. So people started to shift their mindset to find a new industry or to have a new players who could provide them with financial and banking services, between brackets, non-banks. And here it's shift to this and to the new industry of fintech 3.0. So we are started to see new players beside the existing entities, the existing banks, and the emergence of new players. We call them financial technology players. Also in 2009, for example, the Bitcoin version 1.1 was issued, and has a major or had a major impact on the and financial and the world. And soon it has boomed with the different types of cryptocurrencies, which is as we all are witnessing nowadays. Another important impact or factor that happened during this era is the phase of fintech in a mass market penetration. Because we had a mass penetration of smartphones, this was a good enablement of to have more of financial technology providers services such as Google Wallet, Apple Pay, Alipay, WePay, and many of these big players around the world, due to the high penetration of smartphones and connections in the world. So this is a quick overview of about the evolution of financial technology, just to give you an understanding that what happened around the financial technology throughout the years. So let me move to areas of fintech. I mean, what is the areas of fintech? Yes, we know it's about financial banking products using some technologies, innovative technology, different players. Yes, nowadays we can see more collaborations between fintech firms, and the existing banks and financial companies. And there are lots of successful use cases between the corporations. So not only competition, but also cooperations. But what areas covers by the fintech? So it's offering a different or a variety. They're touching a variety of innovative financial and banking services, starting from payments. So we can see, as I give some examples, it's about processing the payments, cross-border, locally, money transfer, all through different types of financial technology products and softwares and applications. Banking, the digital bank, for example, branchless banking, this is all an example of different types of financial technologies or around financial technologies. Financial technology also has enabled alternative options of lending for giving loans. So companies started to provide, fintech companies, they started to provide the new solutions to provide lending, for example, crowdfunding, B2B lending, P2P lending, and so on. Wealth management, around the investments, people started to utilize robo-advisory to provide different services to their customers. Also with the insurance, a lot of organizations, the new InsurTech started to provide different innovative solutions and also to be part of this ecosystem on providing different softwares for insurance and reinsurance as well. And there are many examples of areas of fintech. So here is also another example. So we have, as I say, the payments, remittance. We're talking about the open banking, and open banking is about existing banks, finance company securely sharing data with third parties. A good example, for example, of open banking, where people can have a single app they access and they can see all their account balances of different banks' accounts because of me as a customer. And this cannot happen, or I cannot see this in my screen unless banks open these data securely with the licensed fintech companies, third-party providers, we call them. Digital banking, no physical presence, a fully digital bank providing similar services what the existing banks offer, but fully digital. I talked about robo advisory, B2B, P2P lending. It's about I lend money directly to another person or another entity to another entity without having an intermediary in between. Blockchain have been utilized to provide different services for the financial sector and mainly on the trade finance and then other aspect as well. So for us to have all these, on the top of this tree, all these fintech activities, we call them activities, there should be some enabling technologies. And here where we see the technologies of APIs, cloud, biometrics, blockchain, distributed ledger technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning. Those are the emerging technology that support or that enable to have such a innovated fintech or financial and banking activities. For us to have all these ecosystem or to have a full ecosystem, we need, of course, the policies and regulations around data protection, around open banking, around cybersecurity, around digital identity, and so on. And that usually comes from the policy makers and from the regulatory bodies. So what is the impact of fintech then? I mean, what fintech has led to or impacted? So fintech may affect the factors the shaping the financial intermediaries through reducing the cost. And as per my reading and the research, it goes up to 30% of reduction on cost, and that comes due to two main areas or reasons. One of them is the automation of different functions, whether back office, middle office, or front, and of course the usage of latest technologies such as artificial intelligence, robotic process automations, RPAs that automate the processes. Also, it helps in reducing the transactional cost, and that's happening through online digital payments, electronic wallets, uh, digitizing the customer service through chatbots and others. Moreover, at the back office automation through the use of robotic process automation, artificial intelligence, it is also lowering the fixed costs of these operations that is paid for the back office operations. Uh, Also, it reduced the entry barriers. So it lowered the entry barriers as all available online and digital could be accessible widely. without really restrictions. So great. So this is one of the important things that that of financial technology, where people can utilize different services across the board without any really a barrier on there. And also, when we talk about the collaboration between fintechs and also the banking and financial sector, we can see that the entry barriers of these fintech can be easily happening because banks have a trust of their customer. They have a huge database of customers where can be, whereas the fintech players or fintech firms have the innovation, have the new products. So they can collaborate together, and that also will reduce the entry barrier of the financial technologies. Of course, with all this evolution that is happening around financial technology and the new players, definitely it contribute to the economy. So it contribute to the national economy and support the creation of new business opportunities and new business models, which will, at the end of the day, contribute to the GDP of the economy of those countries. And it indirectly and directly creates good job opportunities by having more of a new players in the market. Also, it taps the untapped segment. Uh, Maybe in Oman, untapped segment means, in a sense, people who are untapped with the banking financial services are not very high. But around the world, we have a high percentage of the untapped segment. So we have lots of people who are unbanked. So they don't have a bank account, they don't deal with a bank. So fintech has tapped or has covered or addressed this untapped segment. So approximately, there is around 1.7 billion adults worldwide still don't have access to the bank account. This is according to the data that's been released by the World Bank. So the fintech, for example, has a positive impact and has came as a saver or for all those who are untapped, to provide them with an easy access and a different options to access the financial services without the need of really having a bank account. They can just depend on their financial products, a product that is offered by those fintech companies. So that's really tell us that fintech is the best option to carry out financial inclusion, since it is developed to provide consumers with a direct access to their financial and banking services through using and implementing the cutting edge technology. And finally, enhancing the banking and financial services, again through collaborations, through utilizing these fintech solutions in banking and financial industry, it has given an advantage and an opportunity to many innovations, in terms of providing easy access to different types of banking services throughout the omni channels, branchless banking, mobile wallets, digital banking, digital payments, and so on. And also in terms of compliance, for financial technologies and banking services, they should always be in comply with the global laws and standards and regulations, and also with the local laws and regulations. So they have to. This is the new technologies have also helped them to be in comply with AML, CFT, and so on, and different technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, is playing a critical step in automating the data aggregation, the process automation, and also that can transform the verification that requires by the AML, CFT operations by the infusion of new efficiencies. So what drives the fintech developments? So I divide them into demand and supply. So if you talk about the demand, so competition. So when competing with traditional banks for profit sharing and also financial aspects, was a demand for having more of a fintech firms around us. And most of the time, the products and services provided do not match the aspiration and the expectation of the new generations or of customers. So they always come with certain incentives of lowering the cost, enhancing transparency, providing multiple options. So basically, they work on shifting the customer preferences, and that make them to meet the high expectations of the new customers or the new generation of customers in terms of speed, cost, user friendliness, and convenience. Whereas there is a supply, the emerging of new technologies had helped to offer low cost and increase the potential opportunity to have more probability of success of these new players. The high penetration of internet coverage, the high penetration or rates of smartphones, mobile technology, computing power. Those all were considered as an opportunity that created a supply, sort of, to have a people, comes with the new ideas to develop new fintech solutions and to be a fintech firms. The growth and development of e-commerce, with e-commerce, they're looking to complete the whole journey to be fully digitized. So e-commerce always looking for, fintech players that could automate the whole supply chain or the whole process of the e-commerce. And this has also to increase, for having more of a financial technology products in terms of online payment, digital payment, money transfer, and so on. And of course, finally, the regulatory restrictions on the traditional providers have also created sort of a supply in the market to have a new fintech entrance into the market. So, looking into this statistics from the World Retail Banking Report 2019, we can see that customer is an important driver toward the demand and the need of success for the fintech firms and businesses. So it is mentioned here that low cost offering is the most attractive, I would say, reasons behind why customers would really think of obtaining or receiving banking services from non-traditional players. Non-traditional players, I mean non-banks, from fintech firms, for example, or fintech entities. So because the cost is lower, they would so people say 70% they are attracted by the low cost offering, then seek of easy of use, and then they want a faster service, or they want a better features, or they want to have more of a personalization. So those are the five, I would say, reasons behind the customer adoption of banking services from non-traditional players as per the World Trade Banking Report that was issued in 2019. So looking into the global fintech market and overview and the developments, looking into the Deloitte report that was issued in December 2020, we can see that there is a clear global fintech revenue growth starting from 2019 up to 2021 up to 2024 with a forecast of 2024, despite the challenges around the world in terms of the pandemic, the economy, oil prices, and so on. So it is important to note that each market has its own market, of course, demand and supply. So this doesn't mean that could be applicable to every country, because every country will have a different market demand and supply, and each market has a different priorities, needs, and these priorities and needs would drive, the development and advancements of financial technology. So, and also not only the market demand and supply, but also the market size and many other enablers such as infrastructure readiness, technology readiness, the availability of law and regulation. All of those are playing an important role, aspect of the ecosystem. So yes, we can see that fintech could be in advanced stage in some regions and still in early stages in some countries, and that could notice that there is a considerable uncertainties in some areas. But when we look into these global figures and statistics, it is very clear that there's a huge growth in this market, and the market is growing very rapidly, and has a potential to cover different areas of financial technologies, services, and even beyond that. Also, looking into the EMEA regions, the Middle East areas, We can see also that the market is growing, comparing it to 2016, 17, 18, and to 19. But maybe we can see that 2020 is not available yet, but maybe I'm expecting that there could be some decline due to COVID, but still market is doing great when it comes to the fintech solutions in terms of raising capitals and other aspects. Also looking into the global fintech index report of 2019, it shows that 96% of the global consumers, are aware of of at least one of the money transfer and payment fintech services, at least one. So it's almost 100% whoever has participated in this survey. So that shows that it is dominating. It is approaching every single customer, I would say, at least with one app. 33% of the global customers often use a fintech service other than their bank account, and this percentage, I'm sure, it's going to increase. 74% of the global customers use a money transfer and payment fintech services also. And according to the KPMG international reports about the global fintech investments, the investment in Europe, Middle East, Africa recorded $4.6 billion in the first half of 2020, and that's a big number. And also, much of these, of course, by the way, much of these fintech investments are or especially in this region, were made in early stage startups. Okay, so it is expecting that the financial sector and market in the Middle East will further expand and will have some diversification, but that all depends on the readiness and the advancement of the ecosystem, of the fintech ecosystem in the countries. So some key reasons I would like to highlight before I move to the next slide. I would like to highlight that the growth of fintech market, there are some key reasons behind them. And I think from my point of view, the high investment in technology-based solutions by banks and firms could be the reasons that has led to the growth of fintech market. Also, the infrastructure-based readiness, this is very important, such as having a readiness from an API perspective, is also shaping, the future of financial products and services, and which will help the financial inclusion. Also, fintech companies are developing low cost, sort of a tailored products, personalized products. And this also has led to raise of customer expectations, customer demand. And this also has led to the boost of the market growth, globally. So, yes, there is a role, of course, of fintech in the economy and digital economy. So here are some examples of some leading countries. Let's say in UK, the financial service industry has a revenue of approximately 200 billion pounds, making up to 11% of the GDP of out of this financial service industry, 11% of the GDP, providing a significant market just for fintech. Also in Singapore, also they promote financial services sector, which contribute about 13% of the Singapore's GDP, and it has employees about 200,000 workers. The same things apply with the Sub-Saharan Africa, SSA's economy output. That shows also an increase from 40 billions to at least 150 billions by 2022, and the same things apply in Indonesia. For example, fintech has added to their GDP by almost 25.97 trillions rupees. So that all shows, the contribution of the financial technology in the economy, and that's why a lot of organizations are really supporting this. So let's move now to the challenges versus the opportunities. Let me start with the challenges. As per the PwC Global Report, there are many challenges that could stop or putting some burdens or hurdles on the fintech. But the three highest challenges, it goes with the first, with the security, compliance, and data privacy risks. and this is really a challenge, a main challenge almost everywhere. Second, uh, too many legacy systems. And these legacy systems makes somehow an issue that could be a burdens or a showstopper for the developments. And the regulations, maybe some regulations are not there, and that could lead also to stopping the development of financial technology. So this is exactly what I was saying: the absence of regulations on the left sides, absence of regulation policies, because technology is moving so fast, and the adoption of regulation policies are not in the same speed. Challenges faced by the policymakers, by the supervisory and regulatory bodies, and how to regulate these new entrants and new fintechs entrants compared to the existing banks and finance companies. Also, the challenges are also with the fintech startups themselves, because they have a challenge of how to enter the market, because some market will have a tough competition from the existing players, the bank and finance companies. So it becomes very challenging for them to enter. And not only this, the fintech startups depend on technology. So if the infrastructure are not there, then there will be a challenge for them to enter as well the market. And as I talked about a few minutes back, the cybersecurity challenge, as per the statistics or the research I came across, financial services firms are 300 times as likely as other companies to be targeted by cyber attacks, as per BCG Boston Group reports. So, because when we consider the nature of financial and banking sector information and data, there should be always a high standard, of security to protect the customer data. So also during my reading, I came across another statistics by the worldwide cyber the worldwide cyber attack are targeting the financial and banking electronic organization is almost 65% more than the other sectors. So they are more targeting the financial sector comparing to other sector. Again, I talk one of the challenges is the tough competition. This is also considered as as a challenge for the fintech development. Skill sets, insufficient human resources with the needed skills. The new technology require requires certain skill sets. So there is a gap between what the market needs and between the skill sets of the graduates. That will also be lead to having a challenge or of having these resources, which will impact the advancement and development. And also the challenge on attracting these skilled resources to work in fintech firms if they compare to the traditional banks, in terms of paying higher amounts and higher salaries, more better packages comparing to the fintech firms, because they are just starting their businesses and they have a very limited. But this is not the case nowadays, because the fintech firms are doing great job around the world, and they have lots of capital raise funding, and that gives them an opportunity to recruit more and to have the right skill sets. Lack of awareness, people are not really aware around, not every part of the world, again, depends on the areas to another, but they have a lack of financial literacy, financial awareness, banking services, and so on, and this also could be one of the challenges that could stop the development of fintech. Moving to the opportunities, of course, there are lots of opportunities, no doubt. So, referring to the KPMG report, fintech startups or fintech firms or fintech services or products enable provision of having more of a new product services to customers who have not been able to access traditional financial services, and that's basically help the financial inclusion, the reach of financial services to as much as possible of the people. I talked about cost reduction, digitizing and automating the banking and financial processes, and also transform them into electronic means by using these emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, robotics, are also have witnessed a lot of cost reduction, either at the back office, middle office, or at the customer level. It has created a lot of jobs, because when we support fintech firms, we'll have more companies, means more staff will be recruited, and eventually it will have a positive, you know, in the market in terms of job creation. And of course, it meets the agenda of many national agenda of many countries in terms of pushing their societies to be with less cash or cashless. So, encouraging these societies, reducing the dependencies and resilience on cash, transforming these countries into societies with less cash can happen through these different technology, electronic transactions, and digital payments. E-commerce, it encourage e-commerce. It's it's uh, it's vice versa. It's not like e-commerce needs that, but also for the fintech. Whenever you have a new innovative technology around fintechs, that will encourage to have more of electronic commerce or digital commerce. So in 2018, for example, 21.3 of all global investment in the financial sector was by e-commerce players. And also it attracts investment to countries. Looking into this statistics of the fintechs in terms of investment activities, we can see the investment growth starting from 2013 up to 2018. And this investment will definitely reflect positively on the fintech players as well as the country. So I think we are reaching to the end. So as a closing remark, fintech sector is growing rapidly and it has a great opportunity, a great potential, and at the same time, it has a great risks which need to be really balanced, controlled, mitigated, but not to. But you have to balance because once you go one side on the other, you will have a problem. But if you don't, then you will put some burdens on innovation, and that's not really right. So the development of financial technology sector, it's different from country to another. As I told you, depends on the market demand and supply, market size, and so on. The competition is tough. It's great between the new entrants and the traditional banks and the technology companies such as the big techs. However, I think collaborations and partnership is happening in many countries, including Oman, between the traditional banks and these fintech companies. So collaborations better maybe could be better than competition, not necessary because competition also is very healthy. So we need both. Both of them are good. And also COVID has shown us that it was one of the drivers for the digital transformation of the existing and the new players. So I think by this I reached to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. I hope it was informative and I was very smooth in explaining the concept. And thank you once again for the invitation. شكرا جزيلا.
العفو، أهلا وسهلا، شكرا جزيلا. Thank you, Mr. Firas, for a very fruitful session. We'll just now the floor is open for questions. You may unmute yourselves if you have any question. You may also raise your hand if you have any question. Yes, Ms. Luai.
Good morning, everyone. My question is, does the banking sector have any recommendations to the academic institutions for the curriculum or curricula regarding the latest development in financial technology? Do you have any recommendations, Mr. Firas?
Yes, so so if I just to make sure like I got your question correctly, so you are talking here whether there is any paper or recommendation to the that could be used as a curriculum in the educational sector, correct? Or by
Yes,
the
sir.
academia?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Because as
to
you
be
have mentioned earlier, your challenge is that the skill set is not matching with the what call this that one of the challenges that you face is that the skill set of the graduates is not matching with the sector that you require. So,
correct.
do you have any recommendations for us to be equip our students with regards to financial technology.
Yes, in term of some documents, we may not have already document, but we are more than happy to engage, because we are already in engagement with two of educational, or two of academia institution in Oman, and on working on addressing these gaps of understanding of financial technology, financial innovation, around what I was explaining. So we may have something, maybe a dialogue together, and definitely we could raise different challenges that we receive from the market, whether from the existing players, whether from the potential, players, and maybe we can have something on that together. No problems at all, because we already initiated this, and we are working on two projects with two institutions, educational institutions, and hopefully soon you will be hearing it. So we can do the same with other institutions, because we want really to address this together. So we would like to always to have the match between the industry and the academia, the linkage between the two.
And that would be great. Thank you, sir.
No worries, pleasure.
Is there any question? You may raise your hand, please. We still have Mr. Firas with us for for the next 5 minutes.
Even if there are any more questions later on, I'm more than happy to address them offline later, Mahmoud.
Okay, then we should end this session. At the end of this very interesting, fruitful session on financial technology, please join me to thank Mr. Firas El Lawati for his presentation. Thank you, Mr. Firas. Thanks, and stay safe.
Thank you very much, and wish you a lovely day ahead. Thank you.
مع السلامة.
مع السلامة.